I had fire hose down at the fire hydrant down here where I was going to try to protect the house myself, and the fire hydrant was dry. There was no water. The hoses had no water. At that point, I didn't think there was any way that my house was going to survive. So I stayed here the whole night. I was up a total of 40 hours by the time the whole thing was over and before I finally went down and took a bath in the ocean. He really offended a lot of local people when he said no comment.
Alexa Lavoie here in Maui, and today we are speaking with the firefighter about the event that happened in Lahaina. But before I go any further, please consider to go to thetruthaboutmaui.com if you think that it was important that Rebel News is on the ground. So for the people who are not aware, on the 8th of August, a fire was declared uptown in Lahaina. This fire was 100% contained after 2 hours. Unfortunately, that fire sparked up and burned down 2,000 infrastructure that 86% were residential. So today we are speaking with someone whose house made it through the fire. Not only his house made it through the fire, but he stayed his boots on the ground the entire time. And it will bring us another angle to the story, since he is a firefighter himself from California, living part-time here in Lahaina. And he is telling not only his story, but also bringing us another angle on how the behavior of the fire act that day. Let's check it out.
So we saw the smoke in the back again. It looked like it was from the same spot it was before. I went back into the house and started working on it, and then a short time later my wife came out and said, that smoke's getting really black. I think it's starting to burn houses. So I quit working on the house. I came out to watch the fire, and it just charged down the back hill coming down Lahaina Luna. And we started thinking about, well, is it going to get bad? I said, we're okay if the wind doesn't change and come this way, because it was blowing straight down the hill. But just to be cautious, being from California and knowing how disasters go, we loaded up the car with all of our important stuff, and I had fire hose down at the fire hydrant down here where I was going to try to protect the house myself, and the fire hydrant was dry. There was no water. The hoses had no water. So at that point I told her just to go ahead and get out of here, and started trying to encourage my neighbors to leave too. So I decided to stay, and I stayed and watched it, and it burned all the way down Lahaina Luna into town. I could see that from here up on the lanai. And then later on I looked out back, and it was burning in the grass coming around the back side of the house. I still thought maybe I was okay because there's a dirt road back there and maybe it won't jump the road. But there was a car back there that caught on fire on the mountainside, and the flames bent across the road, started a fence and a shed on fire that then caught a house on fire. And at that point, I didn't think there was any way that my house was going to survive. So I stayed here as long as I could, and then once the houses behind me started catching on fire right across the street from me, I took the car and I drove out, and I drove it to the construction site behind me that has a big dirt area that's clear and open, and kind of sat there for a minute and watched what the fire was doing. And it wasn't really moving toward my house fast. It was mostly going straight down the hill. So I came in my back gate, and all I had was 3 buckets of water. And I thought, well, if an ember catches a box or some furniture on fire, my furniture on the lanai or something like that, maybe I could put it out before my house did. Fortunately, I didn't have to do that for me. One of my neighbor's house over here, once it started catching on fire, when it first started, I threw a couple buckets of water on it, half buckets, and then the wind changed again. The windows broke out, and it just went up, and there was nothing I could do. So I stayed here the whole night. I was up a total of 40 hours by the time the whole thing was over, and before I finally went down and took a bath in the ocean, because I was just completely covered in dirt and soot and everything else and smoke. So nothing that I particularly did saved my house, but I just had plans to, hopefully, if something were to come up, a small fire under the house or in the gutters or something like that from debris, that I could put that out. My neighbor's back, Ohana, right next door to me, it burned down. I was concerned that it was going to catch his house on fire than mine. And my only plan there that I had was, he has a gazebo back there. I had my Sawzall ready to cut it down and push it over away from the house if it started to catch on fire. So yeah, it was just me here kind of running around doing anything I could. And luckily, just the way the winds kept changing directions, it kept zigzagging. It would blow straight down the hill, then it would blow toward the northwest, and it would blow toward the southwest, and just kind of zigzagged. And you can kind of see that pattern looking around the houses here of how it went around my house. So the construction zone is really the only thing that saved me behind the house, having that big dirt area, I think.
We know that they had a shortage of water. Can you explain a little bit why it can have caused that?
Yeah, the way they're explaining it is the pump stations that supply the municipal water source here are powered by electricity. And when the fire came down Lahaina Luna and hit the power substation, it put the power out to everything. And apparently that's what made there be no water. I've seen that in a few different places in California, like the Paradise Fire, the Camp Fire up in Paradise was a similar situation. There was just no water to fight the fire. And with the winds going that strong, you can't really stop it anyway. But in places like this where it zigzags around the house, you can help put one house out and keep one from catching on fire here and there. But there was just nothing. I felt totally helpless. I was ready to go. I've been through a lot of these fires in California. I felt safe, and I was hoping that I could make a difference, but I had no water.
By your understanding, should the people, but the firefighters had like monitored the fire afterwards when they say that it was 100% contained? The
only thing I can compare it to is what we do in California, and we always leave someone there at the fire and to patrol it and make sure that hot spots don't come up, especially on a wind event like this. I had heard, I don't know if it's just a rumor or not, that there were other fires, so they had to leave to go to other fires. And because I know with all the power lines dropping all over the town, that certainly could have been the case, but I don't know that for sure.
And that leads to my other question about, a lot of people are saying that police were blocking people to try to escape or evacuate the town. Some say that they seemed that they were going in circle. Yeah. Do you know a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's exactly what my neighbors said. They came home for the first time yesterday, and they said that when they were trying to leave the town down low, they tried to head out to the south side and get out, and then the police diverted them back toward town. And they were like, but that's where the fire is, and that's where it's coming from. We're not going that way. And they were a little bit more local people and kind of disobeyed them and found their way out. Another friend even had to go the wrong way on a one-way street because, there's a couple one-way streets down there, and the two-way street was completely blocked by power lines and a tree, and he just had to go all the way up that street and find a way around. So, but it was hard to do because there's cars, people had abandoned their cars, and trees, power lines, everything just made it a total obstacle course, and there was no clear way to get out. It was just kind of an instinct thing for people that did make it out.
And we will finish with, today is the visit of Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. We saw that you have a sign up, no comment and no ice cream. Mm-hmm. What is your thought about Joe Biden and his visit here?
To me, it's a big waste of time of him coming out here. There's plenty of videos. There's plenty of aerial footage of what's going on out here. People need help, and he really offended a lot of local people when he said no comment.
President, any comments on the Biden death toll in Maui?
Will you come talk about the Hawaii response, Mr. President?
I don't know how the man in charge can not have a comment, at least just say, I'm sorry for what you guys are going through. We're going to try to help you out as soon as we can. But to just flat out say no comment is completely offensive to everybody here. And for me, I've never been a big fan of him. I've never been a fan at all. And so I just thought it was appropriate to put up a sign because I knew they'd be flying over today, and being one of the few houses standing, I knew they'd probably come over the top of it. So I put up the sign, no comment, to let them know that we heard that, and then no ice cream because we don't have any ice cream for him.
So if you think that Urban News needed to be here on the ground to bring you the other side of the story, please consider to make a donation through our website, thetruthaboutmaui.com. You can donate on this webpage, but you can also rewatch or watch our reports. So thanks for every donation that can help us to offset our travel costs.